Hi, welcome to a hands-on session on Google Cloud Platform. I'm Yafra Khan from Skill Curve, and in this demonstration, we will work with Google Cloud PubSub client libraries as well as PubSub BigQuery subscription for loading PubSub data into BigQuery. We will use Python client libraries for PubSub to publish messages and then load those messages to BigQuery. The messages will be generated using a sample API. Let's look at an overview of the PubSub client libraries. With the PubSub client libraries, you can programmatically create topics and subscriptions. You can publish and retrieve messages through a supported language. The PubSub client libraries and their documentation are available for Python, Java, Go, Node.js, C#, and some other languages. You can use PubSub client libraries through the IDE of your choice, such as VS Code locally, but you can also use Google Cloud Shell Editor for this purpose. Let's look at what a BigQuery subscription is. A BigQuery subscription writes messages to an existing BigQuery table as they are received. You are not required to configure a subscriber client separately. You can use the Google Cloud Console, the Cloud CLI, PubSub API to create, update, list, detach, or delete a BigQuery subscription. The BigQuery subscription has following advantages. Simple deployment, with which you can set up a BigQuery subscription through a single workflow using the console, CLI, or API. It offers low costs and removes the additional costs and latency of similar PubSub pipelines that include data flow jobs. It also minimizes monitoring because they are part of multi-tenant PubSub service and do not require you to run separate monitoring jobs. Now we'll start working with the Google Cloud PubSub client libraries and BigQuery subscription. These are the steps we'll perform. We'll first create a topic and subscription through the console from Cloud PubSub. We will use Visual Studio Code as an IDE and Python as a language. For that, we will download the prerequisites on the Visual Studio Code and install and update our Python and the Google Cloud libraries. We will then write a program to publish messages to Cloud PubSub. We will view the messages through the console. We will then create a table from BigQuery console, and finally, we will create a BigQuery subscription on PubSub to load published messages to the BigQuery. Now let's get started with our demonstration. So after logging into our Google Cloud, from the GCP console, we'll first verify that our PubSub API is enabled. So we'll go to PubSub API, and from here, we can see that the API is enabled. Similarly, we'll go to the BigQuery API, and here we can see that the API is already enabled. Now another thing we need to do before moving ahead is to go to the IAM and admin and see if our permissions have been granted for using the PubSub and BigQuery. So here we can see that our service account already has the BigQuery admin and PubSub admin permissions enabled using these roles. Another thing that we need to make sure is that we have GCP credential downloaded to our local machine through a JSON file. So I already have the credential downloaded to my machine. So here's my JSON file containing the credentials. So if I open this, I can see my access key IDs and other credential informations. So the next thing we'll do is to create a PubSub topic. So for that, we'll go to PubSub console. And here we'll click on create topic, where our messages will be published. So over here, we'll first give the topic an ID. We'll call this demo topic. And we'll keep the add default subscription checked. And we'll click on create topic. So our topic has been created and a default subscription has been added. We can check the subscription from the subscriptions option on the left navigation toolbar. Now we'll head to our Visual Studio Code to write the code for publishing the messages to this topic. So our messages will be published from the board API, which is an API that suggests activities when we are bored. So our program will query this API every few seconds and publish the results as messages to the cloud PubSub. We will then retrieve and acknowledge these messages. So first we need to install the Python and Google Cloud libraries, which we have already done. And our first step is to import the libraries. First we are importing the PubSub library, then the requests, time and OS library. Now we'll set the path to the Google Cloud credentials inside our JSON file in this variable and assign this to the OS environment variable. Now we will hardcode the link to our public API that we are using to generate the messages. The next step is to call the publisher client to create a publisher, and then we'll write the path to the topic. We'll specify the path. Now we'll write the code for API call, and within the while loop, we are using the request.get method to call the API. Then we are using a new instance of the publisher client with the topic path we specified above, and the API responds as the published data. We are specifying the time as 20 seconds, which means that the loop will sleep for 20 seconds before running again. Now we'll run this code through the terminal. So now messages are being generated to the PubSub. So here we can see that after some time interval, the messages are being generated. To verify this, we'll go to our PubSub console, and here we'll go to our subscription. From here we'll go to the messages tab and we'll click on pull. And clicking on this button, this will fetch the messages which have been generated through our API. So over here we can see that the message body contains the activities that are suggested by the API. And here we can see the fields of accessibility, activity, key, link to the activity, participants, price, and type. So now we are ready to create a BigQuery subscription for loading our PubSub messages inside a BigQuery table. So before doing that, we'll go to BigQuery and create a dataset and a table. So over here we can see our project name. So we'll click on the three vertical dots next to our project name and click on create dataset. So over here we specify the name of the dataset, which will be board activity dataset. And the location type, we'll choose region, and then we'll specify the region as US East 1. Click on create dataset. Now we'll click on the three vertical dots next to the dataset and click on create table. So we are choosing from empty table as the source. Then we'll specify the name of the table as PS to BQ. And for the schema, we'll click on edit as text. So our schema will only contain one field, which will be data. So all our PubSub messages body is contained inside this data field. So the name will be data and the type will be string. So this is it, and we'll create the table. Now our table has been created, and when we go to the details, we can see that it only has one field, which is data. Now we'll go to PubSub, and from the create subscription option, we'll give this subscription a name called BQ sub, and from here we'll choose the topic, demo topic, and the delivery type will specify write to BigQuery, and here we need to input the dataset name, which is over here, and then the table name, which was PS to BQ. All the other options will keep as default, and we click on create. So now BigQuery subscription has successfully been added, which means that our data must have been loaded. So now we'll check our BigQuery table over here. And in the details, when we click on refresh, you can see the preview, and over here you can see the estimated size is 2.31 KB, and the preview we can see our PubSub messages being published over here. So over here all our messages are contained inside the data field. In this demonstration, we went through the steps to use Google Cloud PubSub service through the Python client library and then load these PubSub messages to BigQuery using the BigQuery subscriptions. We used a public API to publish messages to PubSub and listen to those messages. I hope it helped you in understanding the usage of Cloud PubSub client libraries and publishing the messages to Google Cloud BigQuery. Thank you and have a nice day.